Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So, yeah, we'll talk about what industrial design means these days, because it has changed a bit, as you know. And I must say that for now, I feel hyper-connected, because not only I have a microphone here, but I also have a tracker here, which means that the camera is following every single move I make. So anyway, that's the topic that we want to cover today, innovation and design. And I think that with the presentations you've seen already so far, you have a very good understanding of what it is. I'm sure you're all professionals of innovation or design, so you must have an appreciation of what those terms mean. I'm not going to go through the basics of what design thinking is and where it came from and all the story, because this has been said already. I'm going to share with you more some examples of what we do at Nestlé, how we work, and where do we fit in the structure. So the first thing I wanted to share with you is just my background to give you a perspective as well on how I built my experience related to design thinking, innovation, and the way designers work into the different corporations. So I've had the chance to work into 3 large-scale companies, Roche, Novartis, and Nestlé, and I also had the chance to work in R&D, in operations, and in manufacturing, which gave me a broad sense of what are the objectives of those functions, what are the KPIs of those functions, and actually how do they interact with one another, and how actually they can help each other to achieve objectives, common objectives, which are sometimes conflicting when you take them individually, function by function. I had the chance as well to interact with a lot of design agencies, a lot of creative people around the world, and this actually is what formed and what educated me on top of my education in terms of the best practices related to design and the mindset of designers. Now I'm running my own design entity, and I'm like the internal agency or internal service provider within Nestlé. We're still, of course, collaborating with a lot of agencies, and for example, tomorrow I'll be in London interacting with 4 of our agency partners. So it's not like we are isolated and cutting ourselves from the outside world. On the contrary, we are using our network not only to distill the best practices that we have developed over the years, but also to manage the interaction and the relationship we should have and we should continue to build with our agency partners and other partners that we have in the areas of technology scouting and so ever. So we have a network of about 40 designers, which is actually very small for such a large-scale company, because Nestlé is about 300,000 people, so 40 designers is not, to me, the proper ratio, but we can talk about that later. But certainly these people have passion and energy to actually convert the company and effectively bring the spirit of the users and the spirit of design thinking to the way the company works. And initially, our network started through packaging, because 10 or 15 years ago, it was the function that was the most demanding in designers. And we progressively evolved into some sort of product innovation, which means food at Nestlé, and also went into systems. So as you know, Nespresso was mentioned this morning, but also we have other types of systems on the market, and we will have even more in the future. And now, effectively, it is about services and effectively what we call digitally enabled services, which go with new business models. So this means that in terms of the impact that our designers can have and the scope that they can be active on has drastically changed, and we need to educate our designers to address those new challenges. So not only design has evolved in some ways into design thinking, but the scope and the breadth of what you can reach as a designer is actually enhanced and allows you to express yourself even on bigger opportunities. We have actually, and this was presented this morning as well, different steps to go through when we are talking about the front end of innovation, or what some people call design thinking. And my role into this particular front-end process is really to make sure that we have the proper capabilities when it comes to design to support the different teams, whether they are scientific teams, technical teams, or marketing team, business teams, to navigate from the origin of the growth opportunity to the concept, to the prototype, and then further on to the launch. So we have different steps, and Nestlé is going through quite a drastic reconsideration of its ways of working, and I'm part of a team which is called Idea to Launch, which is an initiative led by Nestlé Business Excellence, which is about reconsidering our entire flow from idea to launch. So I know many companies are doing this. We are doing this big times because this year we are reviewing this process and making sure we are state-of-the-art with the best practices ever. And next year we're going to be rolling this out into our 180 markets. So this is a massive change that we are bringing to Nestlé to be more efficient. So when we talk about design, as you know, design has many dimensions, and it's sometimes a bit difficult to understand what design actually means. And at Nestlé, we started with 2 design functions, which we are maintaining so far. One being the visual identity design, which cares about the branding and the visual identity of those brands, and the other one being industrial design related to science and technology and innovation. And we started first to align actually our design methodologies in order to make sure that we understand each other, that we collaborate with one another, and that at the end, ultimately, whatever we do in one dimension or the other dimension of design fits together so that we're offering at the end the best experience possible to the consumers or to the users. So here I'm talking effectively about brand identity, which is a marketing-led function in our company, and industrial design, which is an R&D-led function in our company. And effectively, when we started to collaborate a few years back, because there was a new head of visual identity appointed, we realized that actually the brand identity team had a limited integration into the innovation process, and we realized on our side that we had a limited in-depth brand understanding, which means that yes, we are good at technologies, we are good at understanding a user need, but the branding aspect can actually be, for us, an afterthought, while actually it should sometimes start first. I say sometimes because you have, of course, different cases which mean that different processes apply. So brand identity definitely is brand-led, and they start everything with the brand and from the brand, starting with the brand essence, to convert the brand essence into what we call 5 senses, brand properties, and then decide about what and where the brand should go, while we would start normally with more the science technology or the user center or the user focus, sorry, which engage us into effectively some sort of innovation process where we take brand as a material to innovate from, not as a dogma. And I've heard once in a conference that brandization kills creativity, and I believe in that, in the sense that brand is sometimes cornering you into some space that innovation would not corner you into, and that your consumers would allow you to go into. So actually, we are having interesting conversations about where the brand can go compared to where consumers are allowing us to go. And this is an interesting conversation when you have this design principle in mind, because this is what allows you to, at the end, identify what is the best solution or the best offering you can design for your consumers or customers. So my colleague who's focusing on the visual identity and the brand identity starts with the brand essence to define brand properties. And she lives in that kind of world where it is about symbol, textures, logo type, brand marks, patterns, etc., etc. And at the end, allows us to express ourselves on some dimensions that relate to effectively how do we define the brand properties in terms of the 5 senses, but which ends up with those types of images, those types of atmospheres, which are actually inspiration for us by using science and technology and having this user centricity to think about what can we do with that type of atmosphere, what can we do with that type of environment for a particular brand. And then the end delivery, when we are working together, might look like this. So this is a possible outcome of the stuff we do when we are collaborating together and where we are actually playing with technology in order to design new products and new offerings which have a strong brand-led approach. So that's one dimension just to express to you what we can do when we have this brand-led approach. Now I'm going to give you another perspective, which is more maybe the user-centric approach and the experience approach, which is not, I would say, dictated by the brand necessarily. So industrial design is a term that I think is evolving, and that the content of the people driving industrial design is actually evolving in time, and we can discuss that afterwards. But what I want to share with you is effectively what I would call now experience design, and not necessarily UX design, but really experience design as a whole. And this is where it fits really well with what my counterpart is doing and what my colleague is doing when it comes to converting brand essence to brand properties, so she can give me the input that allows me then to focus on what is the brand experience and what I would define as the user experience or the consumer experience at the end. So what is important to understand is that today people actually share experiences 24/7. So it's really about, having an experience and talking about it or even tweeting about it in order to say it's good, it's bad, or whatever. And actually, when you think about it, design at the end is about people and experiences. And the definition of an experience, I'm sure you know that, is basically a user, a context of purchase and of use, times a number of times. And when you think about this, it requires a different thinking. And sometimes you have to challenge the brief that you receive from the brand teams or for the technical teams to think differently. And the example I would like to share with you is an example of a project we had a few years back when some of our colleagues from our pet food category came to us saying, we have a fantastic new product, which is a pet treat, and we would like you to design us the best possible packaging ever. And actually, the brief was quite badly formulated. It was just this. So, is it a cool brief? Yes, it's a cool brief. But is it a good brief? Well, not necessarily. And actually, when we received that brief, we thought, well, it's just another package, and we know it's going to end up in a pouch. So we thought, well, you know, they say they want a new cool package, but for budget reasons, for tons of other reasons, it might just end up in a pouch which will sit on shelf, and there will be no differentiation. So actually, we thought about what is actually the experience these people want to give to the pet owner and the pet. And there, it's really about an experience, because when you give a treat to a dog, or to a dog in this instance, it's not just like you throw the thing at the pet and nothing happens. There is really your heart beating, there is the heart of the dog beating, and there is something really happening, and it's really, that's the core of the experience that is happening. So it's not just something absolutely with no meaning. There is a strong meaning into it. You are giving a treat to your pet because something special is happening, and he probably deserves a treat. You are happy, he's happy, so it's a celebration. So at the end, rather than just doing a cool package, we thought, how could we actually extend that moment where the heart is beating? And actually, that was the core of how we formulated the brief in our mind, and we came up with an answer which is actually cool, which is this one. And for once in a while, it's not a pouch. It is effectively a cool package that does something spectacular, which is that actually the treat that is in the package can be inserted into the nose pig here. And actually, the pig nose, sorry. And then the treat is thrown at the pet in a random delay, with a random delay. So you actually never know when it's going to pop back, you know? So this is actually the best possible experience you can give, because actually your heart starts to beat. You just put the treat into the nose, into the pig, the pig of the nose of the pig, sorry, and then you wait, and suddenly, poof, you know, it pops back, and then the dog runs and catches the treat, and that's how you actually design, you know, a true consumer experience. And this is not about just designing a packaging, just designing a product. It's redesigning an experience. So we had a lot of fun doing this, and I can tell you that there was a number of experiments being done with the pets running all over the rooms, with different materials being tested, different polymers, different types of designs, and it was a lot of fun for the design team who worked on that particular one. So that was certainly a good expression about what we mean when it comes to talking about the consumer experience as opposed to just the product design. So what's next? Actually, we have been working on packaging, we have been working on product design, we have been working on systems, and now more and more, as you know, it is about digitalization, it is about personalization. And some of the stuff we've been working on is actually to understand better our consumers through getting some data and receiving some data for our consumers. So Nespresso is one of the stories that everybody knows about, and how we gathered data from our consumers and users from the Nespresso platform. But what we did about 2 years ago in Switzerland was quite interesting, because we created a new range of chocolates that was designed on the basis of your sensory preference. So before actually ordering the chocolate box that you could order online, you were receiving, or you were invited to come to a store to experience some different sensorial sensations on chocolates, sensorial experiences on chocolate. And this was actually allowing you to define your sensory profile as a chocolate consumer. And this sensory profile was then allowing you to define your profile, to then being able to order what was corresponding to your particular sensory profile and your particular taste, which means that the box that you were ordering and that you were receiving was based on your sensory profile to really fit with your preferences at the end. And that was really a custom design experience, individual custom design experience with different sets of chocolate boxes that were fitting the sensory profiles that we built over the few months of that experience. And at the end, what it allowed us to do was to have an understanding about the preferences of different consumers in different parts of Switzerland, for example. That was just an experiment, that one. So it was just at the scale of Switzerland, but still what you can see here is that we have a better understanding region by region, area by area, about what our consumers prefer, and actually what type of different chocolates might work better into some different parts of the region, of the country. So that's an experience that we built to effectively understand better our users in order to develop better products. So we start to be effectively into the experience design, which effectively goes way beyond just designing a product. We did the same with pets again, where we are providing our consumers with the possibility to receive not, I would say, an individually custom design package, although there is you can have the picture of your pet actually on it. But actually here, you have the possibility to describe what is the profile of your dog in order to then order a particular offering that corresponds really to the profile of your dog. So you can enter the level of activity, the weight, you can enter different types of information, and at the end, you can effectively personalize the blend so that you receive exactly the type of product that is personalized to your particular dog. So this is online, this is available. The product is called Just Right, and this is something you can order from if you want to receive effectively some products which are custom designed to your particular pet. Now, of course, there are many more things we can do into this area, and if we are coming back to humans, in this case, you must have seen, or you might have seen some articles in the press about what we are doing in the world of big data, in the world of personalized nutrition. And effectively, Nestlé is investing a lot of resources and time into the development of personalized offerings based on the understanding of your personal data and your personal profile about which is the type of nutrition that suits you, not me, but effectively you to the fine details. And we have engaged recently into a partnership with Samsung in order to work with them on sensors and also on apps which will be integrated into the Samsung phones so that in the future you will be able to define your food profile and being supplied with the products that are relevant to you individually and personally. So that's definitely where we are moving in terms of a way forward. And as you can imagine, when you think about design thinking and the topic of the day, which is really about how do you design and how do you leverage design as a competitive advantage into those experiences, this has some significant impact. And the 40 designers that we have today are more than busy when it comes to effectively engaging their resources and their capabilities into the design of services that go way beyond their original, I would say, design scope. So the type of experience that we might be thinking for the future is actually one where, based on a nutritional assessment that you would provide, you would be able to get actually a profiling of what are the nutrients that are relevant to your own person and that are relevant to your family as a whole. And what might come, I'm not saying it is coming, but what might come would be a food system like the Nespresso thing, but this time for food. So not just coffee, but really a full menu, a full plate that will be provided by a type of machine that would then effectively custom design individual solutions for you, for your family, and for all individuals in the home. So effectively, this requires us to get a bit out of our comfort zone with new types of developments, with new types of partnerships, which are not effectively the historical partnerships that Nestlé used to be engaged with. We are partnering with Google, we are partnering with Facebook, we are partnering with other types of companies like this, as I said, Samsung. And the goal here is really to effectively gain new capabilities in order to design the best possible experiences that would fit effectively our users' perspective. And it's all about the evolution of design thinking. It's all about jumping from a curve, from an S-curve to another S-curve. It's all about Gartner. It's all about adoption curves and so forth. And it is also, of course, about business model Canva and the role design has to play into the organization. So 20 years ago, we invented Nespresso, and effectively we changed the business model for coffee. Now it is all about understanding what is the value proposition that we should be offering as a nutrition and wellness company. And I know most of you think of Nestlé as a chocolate company, and I've again showed you some chocolate products in my deck, so you must think Nestlé is still doing chocolate, and we still do, of course. But the future is really around nutrition and wellness, and the purpose of our company is really to expand into enhancing the quality of life for individuals and families, which means that at the end, we will be providing a very different portfolio of product in the future than the one we are providing today. So this value proposition will come through the work of our designers, will come through the work of our business teams, will come through the work of our engineers and technical teams. And this is by working together that effectively design can support to its best in order to deliver the best value proposition. So the role of design, and that was a slide that was not shown this morning, so I can show that one, even if it's the slide that you see in most of the design conferences, is effectively what is the role of design in the organization. And I think that the role of design in the organization all depends on the ability that you give to your designers to work on a particular scope, on a particular area. And when you think about the types of projects I've shown you and this kind of personalized nutrition ambition that the company have, it gives us really the opportunity to move effectively from design being part of the organization to effectively design being integral to all aspects of the organization. So this means that not only we will change the consumer offering, but we will change also the value chain, and we will change the end deliveries and also the end of life of the different products we'll provide to our consumers. So that's the way we can really impact the entire organization. So as I said, I talked about brand identity, which was the kind of a brand-led approach with the examples I gave you. I talked about industrial design, which sooner or later we are going to rebrand in another name because it doesn't necessarily fit anymore, or maybe we should call that innovation design. And then when it comes to digital experiences, of course, we should not forget our IT friends and the people actually that are structuring the platforms to host the data and to exchange the files between consumers and the big Nestlé. So this world around design will evolve, will continue to evolve, and I think that's the mandate of design, is to constantly reinvent itself based on the trends, based on the consumer needs. And when you are truly consumer-centric, actually you are just following and even anticipating what is the consumer demand in order to address it. So design will evolve for sure at Nestlé, design will evolve outside of Nestlé, and at the end, one statement that I'm using often is that design is about the way you treat your customers. So the way you present yourself, the way you present the experience to them, the way you design the experience is the way you treat them. So a bad design is a bad treatment of the customers, and we are absolutely fighting against that at Nestlé in order to provide consumers with the best experience possible. So that's all I have today, because I really would like to have some interactions with you in order to get some questions, feedback, or whatsoever. But at the end, the good thing is that we can all design the future together. So I'm ready for all questions you might have. Thanks.
You had something over the top of it as well. There's like a square and a circle. I'm not familiar with what that was.
The value proposition?
No, sorry, the slide before, I think it was. There you go.
This one.
Yeah, what's that
This one here?
Yes.
Oh, my friend, you need to buy a book. You need to buy a book, and my name is in the book.
So I'm going to read it on the way home.
No, actually, it's actually the first book that Alexander Osterwalder is a very close friend of mine. He lives in Lausanne by chance. And it's funny because I bought this book in the US, and I was convinced the guy was American. And actually, once I wanted to get in touch with him, and I was in Lausanne, and I asked his assistant for his phone number, and she gave me a Swiss phone number. And I said, no, you must be wrong. I mean, the guy is in the US. I'm in Switzerland. Give me his number. But actually, no, the guy lives in Lausanne. And actually, that's the first book he published, which was the business model Canva. But he published a second book, which is even better than the first one, which is called the Value Proposition Design book. And I contributed to that one, so I can only recommend you to read and work on that one, because for me, this one has even more value than the other one. The other one is giving you an overview of the different types of business models that exist around the world. This one is really teaching you how to design the best value proposition that fits into a business model. So actually, this is core to, and it belongs here actually, to what you want to design, what you want to create in terms of new opportunities. So if ever you want to design a new business model, you should start with this, which is really how you define the core of your proposition. And then the other stuff I put here is another book that is called The 10 Types of Innovation, which is also very interesting to understand what are the levers you can activate when you are building a new business model. And actually, this is very complementary to this one, while this one is really how do you go through the approach. So, and I have a lot of exchanges with Alex, and actually he published something recently on Twitter where he said that actually the business model Canva that he wrote is a sort of a business R&D. And I'm part of R&D, so I know what R&D is, but business R&D is something that barely exists, because business never do R&D on its own business. You know, we are doing R&D as part of R&D, but the business guys are rarely experiencing, testing, improving their business plans or whatsoever. And also another thing that Alex says is that the business plan is the best way to fail. So that's not the way you should start. So I can only recommend reading those books. They are really brilliant information to engage you through the design thinking process and being really efficient into developing your value propositions.
So we had 2 days where we heard a lot about design thinking. And I'm quite interested to know why you got a team of 40,
yes,
which is not a big team for a company like Nestlé. Why is it that you can't have more, or do you need more?
Actually, we have many more if we count the agencies. So the thing is that we built these 40 over the years, and the 40 only represent the industrial designers in R&D. I would say if you consider the visual identity designers, it's about another 80, but those guys are really only taking care about 2D branding, so no technology, nothing. And in terms of partnership with agencies, we have hundreds. And effectively, whenever we are short or whenever we cannot do any support because we are overloaded, we are calling our friends from agencies, and they are helping us by co-facilitating a meeting or hosting a meeting or whatever, according to our ways of working, but really working hand in hand together with them. Now, getting actually more designers is always a challenge because of the FTE mandate issue that all companies have. And I must say that the role of designers, even if we are demonstrating the value year after year after year, is something that is always a challenge, because there is always a decision to take about, do I want to invest internally or do I outsource? And there is a permanent debate ongoing. And I think that 40 is a reasonable size that allows us to do the top projects of the company. We cannot do everything that people are asking us, but then we just go out whenever it's needed. And then it's a kind of a balance between internal resources and external budget. So over the years, though, when we are able to demonstrate that actually going out costs more, then you can hire some people. So progressively, you can build the case. But I'm sure Eric would have a point of view as well on this, because you've done that in different companies. But clearly, you always need to balance external budgets versus internal resources. And this 40 people network that we have is actually based on the R&D centers we have around the world, with some categories having more needs. So for example, some centers might have 3 to 4 designers. Some other centers might have only 1, just because the need they have in their own category, between ice cream, waters, chocolate, or whatever, is a bit different. And some categories need more designers than others, although with what I've said, it should be equal everywhere, because everybody now has a need for services or for other types of development. So it's a number that will grow for sure, but it will grow progressively as we are demonstrating the value and constantly making business cases to show the value of internal resources versus external resources. But it's a fight, and it's a tough fight, because you have to demonstrate the value and the evidence of that. Other questions?
Okay, questions? No, it's good.
No, good. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.